The anomaly Lieutenant Cassia Voranth had stopped believing in miracles 3 years ago when the Empire's war had taken her brother. Now she believed only in duty, in the cold mathematics of sensor arrays, and in the emptiness between stars. Her watch shift on the Imperial scout vessel Crimson Eye had been routine for 6 months. Scan, log, report, sleep. The borders of the Talaxian Empire stretched thin here, where light itself seemed older and tired. But today, the sensors screamed. Cassia leaned forward in her command chair, her copper hair falling across the tactical display. The readings made no sense. Mass signature off the scale, energy output impossible. Thermal profile that defied every law of thermodynamics she'd learned at the academy. Her second officer, a nervous young man named Pellin, stammered through the report. "Lieutenant, it's not a glitch. The object is real. It's massive, larger than anything in our database. Show me." The view screen flickered to life and Cassia's breath caught. Against the backdrop of distant stars hung a vessel that shouldn't exist. It was dark, almost black, with lines that seemed to shift and flow like water frozen in metal. No running lights, no identification beacon, just silence and impossible size. Her hand moved to the communications console before her mind had fully processed the decision. "Unknown vessel, this is Imperial Scout Crimson Eye. You are entering restricted Talaxian space. Identify yourself immediately," Static answered. Then, after a pause that stretched like centuries, a voice emerged. Male, calm, with an accent she didn't recognize. It carried warmth that seemed alien in the cold of space. "Crimson Eye, this is Captain Dmitry Volkov of the Earth vessel Leviathan. We mean no harm. We're simply passing through." "Earth?" Cassia exchanged glances with Pellin. Earth was a backwater, a primitive planet barely worth the Empire's notice. Their technology was centuries behind. They had no deep space capability. "Captain Volkov, your claim is impossible." "Earth has no vessels of this class, Lieutenant." His voice held something she couldn't name. Amusement, pity. "We have a lot to discuss. Would you like to come aboard? I promise you'll be safe." Every regulation screamed at her to refuse. Every instinct told her to call for reinforcements. But Cassia had lived her entire life following orders, and where had that gotten her? A dead brother, a hollow career, an empire built on fear. "I'm coming aboard," she said, "but my ship stays armed." I wouldn't expect anything less. As the docking sequence began, Cassia checked her sidearm and straightened her uniform. She told herself this was reconnaissance, intelligence gathering, her duty to the Empire. But deep in her chest something stirred that felt dangerously like hope. Perhaps the void held secrets after all. Perhaps miracles weren't quite dead. The Leviathan waited in silence, and somewhere within its impossible hull, a man named Dmitry was preparing to shatter everything she thought she knew about the universe. First contact, the airlock hissed open, and Cassia stepped into a world that defied her understanding. The corridors of the Leviathan were nothing like Imperial vessels. No harsh lighting, no cramped passages designed for efficiency over comfort. Instead, soft illumination flowed from panels that seemed embedded in the walls themselves. The air tasted clean, almost sweet, with none of the recycled staleness she'd grown accustomed to. Captain Dmitry Volkov waited at the end of the corridor. He was taller than she expected, with dark hair and eyes that held intelligence and something else, kindness perhaps, a quality rare in military officers. He wore a simple uniform, deep blue with silver insignia, and when he smiled, it reached those eyes. "Lieutenant Voranth, welcome aboard." He extended his hand in the old Earth custom. She hesitated, then accepted. His grip was warm, firm, without being aggressive. "Your ship," she said, pulling her hand back perhaps too quickly, "operates on principles that violate several fundamental laws of physics. Our scans showed energy emissions that shouldn't be possible with any known reactor design. Walk with me. I'll try to explain." He gestured down the corridor, and despite every warning in her training, Cassia followed. They moved through sections that made her head spin. Engineering bays where massive cores pulsed with contained reactions she couldn't identify. Crew quarters that looked comfortable, almost luxurious. Observation decks where stars blazed with clarity that no Imperial viewport could achieve. Dmitry explained as they walked, his voice patient, but she caught only fragments. Quantum resonance drives, gravitational lensing shields, zero-point energy extraction. "You're saying Earth developed all this in secret?" She stopped, facing him. Why? Why hide this capability? Dmitry's expression grew serious. Because we learned what happens when the Empire notices something it wants. We watched worlds burn. We saw species enslaved. Humanity decided long ago that we would rather be invisible than conquered. Then why reveal yourself now? Because hiding is no longer enough. He led her to an observation deck. Through the massive viewport, the stars stretched endlessly. The Empire is expanding again. Toward our space, toward Earth, we needed to send a message. One ship. This is your message? One ship is all it takes. He turned to face her fully, and Cassia found herself unable to look away. We don't want war, Lieutenant. We never did, but we won't be prey either. The proximity felt suddenly intimate. She could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes, the slight stubble along his jaw. Professional distance demanded she step back. She didn't. My orders are to gather intelligence, to report back everything I learn here. Her voice came softer than intended. I know. Dimitri's smile was sad. And you'll do your duty. But Cassia, may I call you Cassia? Before you do, ask yourself one question. What if everything the Empire taught you was a lie? Her communicator chirped. Pellin's voice crackled through. Lieutenant, High Command is demanding a status report. They want immediate tactical data on the hostile vessel. Hostile. The word felt wrong now. Cassia looked at Dimitri, at this man who had shown her wonders and spoken truths that made her empire seem small and cruel. Tell them I need more time, she said. Forbidden truths. 3 days passed like stolen moments. High Command grew impatient, their transmissions increasingly hostile, but Cassia found reasons to delay. More systems to analyze, more crew to interview, more sections of the Leviathan that required inspection. All true, all excuses. She spent those days with Dimitri, and somewhere between technical briefings and shared meals, something shifted. He told her about Earth, not the primitive world of imperial records, but a planet of resilience and hidden strength. A humanity that had watched the stars with wonder and terror, knowing that discovery meant death. We built listening posts on our moon. On Mars? In the asteroid belt. Dimitri explained over dinner in his quarters. The food was strange but delicious. Actual vegetables, real meat, not the synthetic rations she'd eaten for years. For 50 years we listened to your empire. We learned your language, your tactics, your weaknesses, and your strengths, Cassia asked, sipping something he called wine. It made her head light and her inhibitions softer. We learned those too. His gaze held hers across the small table. We learned that not everyone in the Empire believes in conquest. That some serve because they have no choice. That duty and belief aren't always the same thing. You're talking about me. Am I wrong? Cassia set down her glass. The truth sat heavy in her chest, demanding release. My brother died on Vixaris Prime. The Empire called it a liberation. The natives called it genocide. He wrote me letters toward the end. Told me what he'd seen, what he'd been ordered to do. Her voice cracked. He walked into enemy fire on purpose. He couldn't live with what he'd become. Dimitri moved around the table, kneeling beside her chair. His hand found hers, warm and steady. I'm sorry. The Empire destroys everything it touches, including its own people. She looked at him through tears she'd held back for 3 years. Why am I telling you this? Because you needed to tell someone. Because you're tired of carrying it alone. His thumb traced circles on her palm. Cassia, you're not your empire. You're not your orders. You're you. The space between them evaporated. She didn't know who moved first, but suddenly his lips were on hers, gentle but urgent, tasting of wine and promises. Her hand found his hair, pulling him closer, and the kiss deepened into something that felt like coming home after a long, cold journey. When they finally broke apart, breathless, Cassia whispered, This is treason. Only if you go back. Dimitri's forehead rested against hers. Stay, help us. Help me build something better than empires and conquest. Before she could answer, alarms shrieked through the ship. Dimitri's communicator erupted with urgent voices. On the view screen, Imperial warships materialized from jump space. Dozens of them, weapons hot. At their head was the Warhammer, commanded by Theron Krask, the Empire's most ruthless hunter. His voice boomed through open channels. Leviathan, you are surrounded. Lieutenant Voranth, you are relieved of duty and charged with collaboration. Surrender the vessel or be destroyed. Dimitri looked at her, question and hope mingling in his eyes. Cassia made her choice. The breaking point. This is Lieutenant Voranth to Commander Krask. I am conducting authorized reconnaissance. Stand down immediately! Theron Kresk's laugh crackled through the comm. You've been aboard that abomination for 3 days, Vorinth. You've been compromised. The Empire doesn't negotiate with traitors or primitives. Cassia felt Dimitri tense beside her on the bridge. Around them, the Leviathan's crew moved with practiced precision, but she could see the fear in their eyes. 30 Imperial warships against 1. The mathematics were brutal. Dimitri, she said quietly, how fast can this ship move? Fast enough, but we don't run. His jaw set in determination. We came here to send a message. Running now would undo everything. Then what? The Warhammer opened fire. Lance beams that could core a planet slammed into the Leviathan. The deck shuddered, but held. On the tactical display, the shields absorbed the impact with barely a flicker. Kresk's second volley came faster, joined by a dozen other ships. The void lit up with enough firepower to sterilize a solar system. The Leviathan didn't even rock. Dimitri's voice rang with quiet authority. Return fire. Disable only. Target their weapons and engines. What happened next would haunt Imperial records for generations. The Leviathan's weapons, if they could be called that, didn't fire beams or missiles. Reality itself seemed to bend around the ship. Space twisted and suddenly the Warhammer was spinning, its entire weapon array simply gone, not destroyed but erased, as if it had never existed. 3 more ships suffered the same fate in the span of heartbeats. Stand down, Kresk, Cassia shouted into the comm. You can't win this. I'd rather die than yield to humans. But his voice carried doubt now, edged with terror. Dimitri touched her shoulder. Take the tactical station. Show them what you know. Show them there's another way. Cassia moved to the console, her Imperial training merging with her new understanding. She knew Kresk's tactics, his patterns, his pride. She coordinated the Leviathan's responses, disabling ships without destroying them, proving the point with each precise strike. Humanity wasn't here to conquer. They were here to defend, but Kresk, desperate and cornered, made his final play. He rerouted all power to weapons and aimed directly at the observation deck where she'd kissed Dimitri hours before. Where crew members walked and worked. Where life bloomed in the darkness. If I die, you die with me, human. The shot came. Time seemed to slow. Cassia saw Dimitri move, saw him input commands faster than thought. The Leviathan shifted, took the full brunt of the assault on its armored hull. The beam that should have killed dozens carved a scar across the ship's side, but everyone survived. Almost everyone. The backlash sent a power surge through the tactical station. Cassia screamed as electricity arced through her body. She fell, and Dimitri caught her before she hit the deck. Medical team now. His voice broke with emotion she'd never heard from him. As darkness closed in, she heard Kresk's voice, small and defeated. What are you? Dimitri's answer was steel and promise. We're human, and we protect our own. New dawn. Cassia woke to soft light and softer sheets. The medical bay of the Leviathan surrounded her with gentle sounds, monitoring equipment that hummed rather than beeped, the rustle of fabric as someone moved nearby. Her body ached, but she was alive. Easy. Dimitri's hand found hers. He looked exhausted, his hair disheveled, still wearing his singed uniform. You've been unconscious for 2 days. The doctor said you'd recover fully, but his voice caught. I thought I'd lost you. Kresk? Her throat was dry. Retreated. Took his wounded ships and ran back to the Empire with tales of the demon vessel. Dimitri helped her sit up, adjusting pillows with gentle care. You're officially a traitor in their eyes. There's no going back for you now. Good. She managed a weak smile. I never wanted to go back anyway. Over the next hours, as her strength returned, Dimitri told her everything. The Imperial fleet had scattered. News of the Leviathan's capabilities spread across the Empire faster than light, carried by fear and awe. Worlds on the frontier were already questioning Imperial authority. Some colonies had declared independence, claiming human protection. We didn't start a war, Dimitri said, standing at the observation window. We ended one before it could begin. The Empire knows now, humanity isn't prey. We're equals, maybe more. Show me, Cassia said, joining him despite the medical staff's protests. He helped her to the viewport, his arms steady around her waist. Then he activated the long-range sensors, and Cassia's breath caught. Emerging from the dark beyond known space came vessels, dozens, then hundreds. Each one unique, each one impossible. The human fleet, hidden for half a century, revealing itself at last. We were never alone, Dmitri whispered. The Leviathan was just the first. The warning. This is the promise. Tears streamed down Cassia's face. It's beautiful. So are you. He turned her gently to face him. Stay with me, with us. Help us build bridges instead of burning them. The Empire needs people like you. People who remember their humanity even when serving something inhuman. I'm not Imperial anymore. No. He kissed her forehead, then her lips, tender and full of tomorrow. You're human. You always were. You just needed to remember. In the days that followed, humanity's message reached every corner of the galaxy. Not a declaration of war, but an invitation to peace. The Talaxian Empire, its pride shattered and its fleets cowed, had no choice but to accept. Treaties were drafted. Borders were redrawn. A new era began. Cassia Vorenth became humanity's voice in the negotiations, the bridge between worlds. She stood beside Dmitri as they forged alliances that would reshape the galaxy. And on quiet nights, when the stars blazed through the viewports of the Leviathan, she would lean against him and marvel at how one impossible ship had changed everything. The void had kept its promise after all. In the darkness between stars, two hearts had found each other. An empire had learned humility, and humanity had proven that strength wasn't measured in weapons or fear, but in the courage to stand, to defend, and to love despite the impossible odds. The Leviathan sailed on, no longer alone, carrying the dawn of a new age where monsters became legends, and legends became hope.